Hi, guys. Welcome to the Gentleman's Jury. I'm your host, Robbie, and with me is my co host.
Zachary.
And we're taking some time for our first episode to kind of explain who we are and our history together and kind of what this whole thing's about.
Yep.
So, like we said, my name's Robbie and this is Zach. We've known each other since high school,
Let's say even middle school.
middle
We
school.
didn't
So
really,
we,
yeah, we didn't hang out till high school, my dude.
but we've known each other for a significant amount of time. Um, And despite how our friendship is, we kind of have separate views on
uh,
certain um
yeah, similar views, but they differ enough.
on some problems that affect people our generation. I should mention I am of a younger. In my early 20s, so we and same with Zach. So we're kind
I
of
was gonna say, I was like, what? Am I 30 now?
So we kind of understand the problems that young people are dealing with, especially on issues like how the education system might need to be reformed, how this last election doesn't matter. I'm not saying whoever you voted for. I'm saying like the fact that we had to choose between two people when there were multiple people that could have been debating, and we could have had a much more broad.
Well, we could have had even the choice of like better candidates. Like, why settle for this horrible pick of the crop when there's so much more out there? Why not demand recount? But
Right, and especially since something like the presidency is kind of the highest honor you can be as an American. It's something that you spend time. People spend lives trying to obtain, and we gave it to two older gentlemen or it was between two older gentlemen, one who was a businessman and one who's been in politics his entire life,
yeah,
and neither of
both.
them really seem.
Neither
Yeah,
of them are good people. Like they both have a history of problems. And don't get me wrong. I mean, things happen in people's lives, but some of that stuff was pretty unforgivable. You know. But
right,
I digress.
exactly,
Not
and
what this is.
especially because in like when we talk about some of the issues that you and me see, being so young and having grown up with some of these things going on, why is it that they're always addressed as a second-hand concern to things like um, social issues, when by correcting these we can kind of help correct some of the injustices that people feel in our society?
Yeah, they're not attacking the root of the problem kind of thing. It's more let's hide it behind something else.
Right,
And
exactly. And like, why are we allowing people to kind of be in that situation? I mean, like, we put this person in office saying, hey, help us better our systems, and they go, okay, yeah, I'll do that, and then they never do, and then next year they're like, oh, but I swear I'll do it this time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't really help what that person can do, though. Like, once they're in office, they can do whatever the hell they want. You just hope, you can only hope that they are held to what they say they're going to do. And I think that's a little bit flawed, too. I think there should be kind of a held accountable for what they say that they do it. Now, obviously, there are things that they promise that take years and years to do, and they may not be able to do it within the term, like within their first or even their second term, depending on how big of a hurdle they're trying to come across. But the hope is that they set the groundwork for the next guy if that's the case.
Right,
But it go ahead.
and the other thing is that we also, it's not just the president that's been failing us. It's the people we put in the House. It's the people we put in the Senate. And we've essentially just kind of fell into this two-party system of personalities. We're not holding anyone accountable anymore.
Well,
And I mean, we don't hold like how he didn't hold the president accountable for some of the things that happened during this last term, like the bounties that were being placed on U.S. soldiers' heads not being told to us, especially since I'm a veteran and that's something that like concerns me.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like bringing it up to like the Senate and stuff, like you were saying, it's that instead of them working together as people in office, they're working each other as, oh, my team has to win. As a Republican, my side has to win, or as a Democrat, my side has to win. Rather than being like, okay, well, this is a good or bad idea for the country. It's not, is it for good for the country? It's, is it good for my group of people? You know, is it for my team? Rather than being like, oh yeah, the American people are what we should be striving to actually better. Now, obviously, if it was like, oh yeah, I don't think this is a good idea because I see problems with it, and you voice those problems, you know, that's understandable. But it doesn't seem like that's how it's going. And obviously, we're not on the ground floor to watch it happen in real time, but just from like the footnotes, I guess, of it, that's how it comes across as.
Right, exactly. And I remember growing up, you used to switch through all the TV channels before we had Dish and all this other stuff, and they used to have a channel that
Sure.
was boring as hell, but it showed everything that was happening in the Senate and the House.
You know, honestly, I'm not sure if I ever remember seeing that. But then again, I didn't have very many like shows on like cable or anything like that. I literally only watched like Disney. Disney and Nickelodeon were like the two shows that I had and nothing else.
Right, and
But I oh, but
but like I was saying, like those were some things that we could sit there and watch, and we'd be more informed. I feel like now with the amount of, and like you said, like you were distracted with Disney Channel and Nickelodeon because we were both younger kids. Like I didn't sit down and watch it. I just remember seeing it. Um, but we're no longer a lot. I feel a lot of people aren't even doing that anymore. Like my dad used to watch it for like 20-30 minutes a day, especially when something big was coming up, like are they going to raise taxes on oils, or our car prices, or our gas
Gaspism.
goes up.
Yeah.
It's things like that that we don't even have real access to. We just kind of hear all the drama about it secondhand now, especially off of
Yeah,
social media sites like Twitter.
I was gonna say, well, when your main source of like news is from memes, I mean, you know it's bad. You know it's bad. And what's sad is that the memes are probably the least one-sided side of that. Like you see those memes, but a lot of the time, like yeah, one's bashing the Republicans, but then right after that, there's one bashing the Democrats. You know, it's back and forth more
Right,
than
and
anything.
you're
But you
you're
take
getting
it
a
as a
full
joke.
picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're taking it as a joke. It's not like, oh, this is how it is. It's just like, okay, well, here's a little something to be brought up, and you can think about it if you want, and you can look it up. And that's what I also like about the memes is that it almost always is followed by like a source that you can look up to see like it, like someone down there that's either griping against it or is in agreement, like lists a source, so you
Right,
can go and like look at that.
and that's another big thing that I was going to bring up is that like we pull all this, like I have friends on the left and I have friends on the right, and most of the people on the right, like my buddy, or Andrew, he would pull things off of like the Ben Shapiro show and things like that, which I also have watched every now and then. But that's
Yeah,
just a single source, and he goes and goes, well, that sounds right, so that's what I'm going to run with, instead of like going and looking at another source. And the
or
left is just
multiple.
as
Yeah.
yeah, and the left is just as bad about that. I mean, you look at CNN,
Well,
MSNBC.
all the news outlets nowadays, it seems like, are just owned by one of the sides rather than a non-biased media, and it's hard. It's hard to find that now because
Right,
one of those is funding them. You know.
and the big problem is that you get these personalities on either side that no one wants to watch. Like, I
Oh yeah.
cannot stand Tucker Carlson when I listen to him because he says some of the dumbest shit. But at the same time, you start listening to CNN, and it devolves into like this, well, I'm more leftist and my idea is right, and kind of thing, and that's just stupid.
Well, I mean, like all you really need to know is that the water's turning the frogs gay, dude. It's just like that. That, in all honesty, I respect the dude, and I've seen him make valid points, but that became such a big meme, And at that point, I was just like, who is this guy who's insane and like out of his brain? I was like, we all know frogs have always been gay. The water didn't do anything.
And that's another big issue that I feel younger people are dealing with is like gay rights. Like when I have a great aunt who's gay who married me and my wife, why shouldn't they have the same
Yeah,
rights as that? I mean, like I feel like we allow things like religion and personal biases to get in the way of policy when policy is supposed to be there to help us communicate the real problems that we're facing, not these human right problems that should have been solved years ago.
yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
And it's so sorry about getting
I was gonna
sidetracked
say
there.
we got sidetracked, but in all reality, I mean that is how it is, and these are just like problems that we're gonna try to tackle a little bit and
Right,
try
we're
to give answers to. And obviously, there's it's gray area. There's no definite here's one answer, but here are some possible solutions. And take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, you can always fact check anything that is said and
right,
look it up
and
for yourself.
in fact, I encourage you to, if you sit here and you hear us say something and you go, well, that doesn't sound right. Tell us, and we will update our views on it. We'll look into some more facts because, like you said, we don't have all the answers. We're just trying to start the dialogue because I'm tired of hearing the left and right saying, "Oh, we'll solve the problem. Oh, we'll solve the problem," but no one's talking.
Yeah, no one's actually like solving the problem. They're sitting there and just twiddling their thumbs, and they're like the problem will solve itself. Or instead, what it seems more like is they might be causing the said problem because said problem will take your eyes off something else, which
That
I've seen too much.
and
That one's a little bit conspiracy right there, but that's it's something that I've just noticed, and I won't say it's a true fact, but it seems to happen a little too often. But
right, and the other thing is sometimes they might not want to solve the problem because that having that problem around in their back pocket is another way to get reelected.
oh yeah,
I mean, like that's another issue that us young Americans face is why aren't there term limits on Congress, the Senate, things like that? Why do we keep putting people in like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden? Um, those are two big names that I know just off the top of my head who have been in politics for 50 plus years.
yeah.
And then you get and then nothing changes. The policies they keep sidebarring people, things like that. They filibuster bills. Uh,
What's stopping from being corrupt at that point? They're being paid to be politicians, and they're making big bucks, and they're getting in with all these other, high rollers. Because they're constantly having to meet high rollers. Someone's got to pay for the bills. And get them passed and everything. So what's to stop them after all this time spending, you know, nickel and dimes with these people to be like, hey, you know what? I'll give you an extra 10 here to kind of just look the other way or to
right,
allow me to keep doing this.
and part of that problem is and another part of that problem is now they're hoarding that money, and then they still get paid insane amounts of cash to be a politician
Yeah.
just from the kickbacks they get and things like that that they don't want us to know about, but everyone kind of assumes anyway.
Well, yeah, and it's like Biden's thing. Like, I know his big point was like, oh, I'm gonna tax the rich 54% or whatever percent it was. I believe it was 54, but I could be off there on that number. But he says that, but what everyone forgets is most of those rich are having tax write-offs anyway. They pay almost nothing in taxes because they give it all to charity. Well, supposedly give it to charity. It might be their own charity, and they're getting the money right back to themselves. But the
I mean,
thing is it's a tax write-off, so that 54% doesn't change anything when you still pay nothing in taxes because you get all your tax write-offs.
right, and another side of that is some of them might actually be paying tons of money in taxes, but because they're paying all that money in taxes and they know they're losing money, they drive up prices at like a
Yeah.
Walmart or something, and now we have to pay more,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that affects us negatively as well.
And my worry is that even the ones that are doing are that aren't really paying too much in taxes because they're donating it, and hopefully they're doing it good purposes and there is actual donations to actual charities, stuff like that. But it sucks to know that they're going to do that, and they might still raise the prices just as like they were going to be charged that 54%. Because they can get away with it. That could be the reasoning. But again, it's nothing that's been proven, and it's something hopefully will come to light at some point of what's really going on. I mean, that's all you can really hope for in that best case scenario.
Right, and it's something that we will have a discussion on this channel. The idea is to just kind of open people's minds to the idea of change.
Yeah,
Like, we're all tired of hearing the same rhetoric, the same two-party system, the same education flaws, the same, like, just all these problems that everyone keeps like screaming about for the past 10, 20 years, and no one goes around and fixes it. And we're
yeah.
here to have the dialogue why.
It's more of a why is this party causing this problem and why they're bad at it rather than here's a solution to it. Whether it's whatever party's doing it, it's like why not work together? It's not, oh, it's all caused because this party's doing this, etc., etc. When it really isn't.
Right, and the other part of that is if we provide an idea for a solution, right? And
Yeah,
somebody ends up hearing it, and then they have that discussion, and that discussion blows up to another discussion. We can the hope is that by being the person to start the conversation, will help affect the change that we need to see in the world.
yeah, yeah. Someone will adopt the idea. Hopefully, that is up there, which is a good thing to do. And I also, what was I was gonna say? I was gonna bring it up. I can't remember what I was gonna say. My bad. I
so,
lost
so
it mid thought. You know what happens.
yeah. Um. So back on track though. To wrap up this kind of short, this will be probably the shortest episode. It was just kind of an idea. Gives you our listeners an idea of what we're talking about and what we're going to be talking about. Our upload schedule. Hopefully, we're gonna try and maintain it. We both work full time jobs. I'm also in college, so there's gonna be
Yeah,
some overlap. So bear with us. But we're gonna hopefully upload every Tuesday and Thursday.
yeah.
Um,
And I remember what I wanted to say. It was addressing how we wanted them to comment like solutions, or if they found an error in our statistics or anything like that in there. We'll try our best to address it in the next episode or in the next week episodes.
right. Yes. We will
So we'll try to make
address
a segment to address any errors or flaws that have been brought up. Or if
right
we
and
see like a really good idea, we might say something.
right. And if it's a really good idea, we might make a whole another episode talking about it and all of our errors that people catch. What we'll do is we might end up, like you said, throwing it into the next episode or a
Yeah.
coming week episode, or we'll if it's something really bad and we pull a real big oops, we'll amend it probably within that week. We might do a special upload and we'll let you know. So
Yeah, complete wipe out that episode and start over from the beginning.
no, one of the other things that before we wrap up, one of the other things that I notice people do, and I see it in people I've grown up with all the time, is they'll say something online and then they realize that they're wrong, so they delete it.
Yeah,
And that while I understand the reason why people do it, you have to realize that by having an opinion, stating that opinion, even if it's wrong, and then realizing that you were wrong, you keep that opinion up there so that way and people know that you've kind of come to this other conclusion. You have taken accountability for the fact that you were wrong. People can go back and be like, "Hey, that was wrong," and now you've addressed it.
yeah. And obviously, like if it's an opinion, and depending on the circumstances, it may not be like right or wrong. Again, it's one of those gray areas. It's just like, hey, this is what I feel like, and you can't really change my mind on that because it's just how I feel.
Right,
It's not a fact versus fiction kind of thing. It's just more of yeah, I kind of just feel like I don't like this person or something like that. Your opinion may not be wrong, but it's also maybe not like the best thing either. But you know
right,
that, but that's just the conflict with it. It's no big deal to have it, in my opinion.
right, and that's what I'm saying. If you're wrong, you're wrong, and even if you're not like wrong in the sense that it's right or wrong, like you were saying, it's a gray area. Knowing that you had that opinion helps better the conversation because if everyone just agrees, it doesn't benefit the conversation that you're trying to have. It's like if you walked into a restaurant and you asked your significant other, whether that's your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever you're having to be with, hey, what do you
Mhm.
want? And they go, well, I'll just have whatever you're having. So you order, and then she or he or whoever doesn't like it, and they don't say anything. How does that help you the next time you guys go out and he or she says the same thing?
Then you gotta make all the decisions.
Right, but
That's the tough one. It's like I'm just gonna get the same thing every time. It's like yeah,
right,
it's
but
like the whole thing of like choosing a place to go eat too.
right, yeah, same concept. The idea is you need to have that open line of communication. It needs
Yeah,
to go
yeah,
both ways.
yeah.
But
Shouldn't be a one-way decision.
right. I think that kind of wraps up the first episode, kind of discussing what we're going to be talking about a little bit. It's not all political, I promise. Come week 3, we're going to talk. We're going to bring in a friend of ours who's trying to break into the video game industry to talk about how difficult that can be and kind of ways that the video game industry might be able to update itself to do better. And we'll have other topics other than just politics. Politics are just kind of the easiest idea to kind of give you an idea of what we're planning on talking about.
That and it's the most relevant right now. It's big.
Right? Yeah, it's the yeah exactly. It is the
Yeah,
most relevant.
yeah. I feel like it's the biggest thing to talk about right now, and hopefully get some ideas across to people. Open that dialogue for next election, or
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Just get the dialogue open
yeah,
and try to prevent um the shutting down of one side.
yeah.
So, all right, well that wraps it up. I'm your host Robbie,
And I'm your co-host Zach.
and we'll see you next time.